in, and we were just talking about in the green room our walk on music. Isaac, Sharon, do you think that's something that we need for all the conferences that we attend? That it's got to be a bit more theatrical, like a political rally in somewhere like the United States. Sharon, do you think we need that? Do you think we need walk on music for like when
I
you're
don't think
when,
it'd be great, but I need more than 30 seconds to think about what mine should
No,
be.
no, no.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that we need to know what your walk-on music is going to be right away, or perhaps we should choose Isaac's walk-on music. This sounds like a pre-planned this, Sharon, but I haven't.
Amazing.
What's walk-on music can we have for Isaac?
It's got to be Eye of the Tiger, isn't it?
Oh, well done, because he is our Sylvester Stallone, isn't he? He is our Rocky. Isaac is our Rocky.
Is it the slurry speech that then made you think of that?
Oh, stop it! Right, our social media is live. Sharon, are you ready for this?
As I'll ever be, yeah.
Isaac, are you ready for our 51st broadcast of the AHDB? Isaac, are you ready?
Of course, Max, always ready.
Welcome, everyone. My name is Max McGillivray from Beanstalk Global, and welcome to the AHDB Talking Leaders series. And we won't forget this time, in a moment, the fantastic Isaac is going to give a bit of a background to Talking Leaders and also the AHDB. But for those dialed in either live or listening on record or listening on the podcast, in today's episode, we're tackling a topic that touches us all. Blue Monday, staying positive and purposeful in farming. Farming, as we all know, is full of highs and lows, and when those darker days come round, it can be tough to be optimistic, and that's why we've got the fantastic Sharon on today. Sharon, Isaac, I'm sure you know that Blue Monday wasn't actually born out of ancient folklore or psychology. It was actually created as a marketing idea. Way back in 2005, a certain Dr. Cliff Arnall, a part-time tutor at Cardiff University of all places, was commissioned by Sky Travel, a holiday company, to come up with a formula for the most depressing day, conveniently timed to sell winter holidays. The doctor produced a pseudoscientific formula involving weather, debt, failed New Year's resolutions, we've all got those, low motivation, and time since Christmas. The media loved it, and Blue Monday became a recurring headline. But oh my crikey, with all the depressing elements already mentioned, rolled into what the hell is going on in geopolitics currently, we need our esteemed guest Sharon like never before. Sharon knows more than a thing or two about mindset, resilience, and leadership in agriculture. Together, we're going to explore how to find light on Blue Monday, how perspective and purpose matter on the farm, and why staying optimistic isn't just feel-good talk, is essential for our success in our industry. Following a career in physical healthcare, Sharon's love of people and their stories led to her to shift her focus to emotional healthcare and retrain as a counsellor whilst bringing up her three gorgeous children. She set up her own practice on the farm 8 years ago, which has now grown into a multi-therapist counselling hub, providing face-to-face mental health support to the rural community in which we live. Sharon, is that a good description? Have we set up a good foundation for this conversation about you helping us on Blue Monday?
That was a great introduction. Thank you very much. I don't know that I need walk-on music. I think I need. I think I just need you, and I'm going to be wherever I go. So thank you for that.
You don't.
Yeah.
Sharon, well done. And we mustn't forget why this is all about. This is all being catered for, created by the AHDB. Isaac, just tell us about the AHDB and our program of action. Go.
Thanks, Max. So, yes, I work for the Agriculture and Horticultural Development Board. If you're listening in from outside of the UK, we are the UK's levy board. So we get a levy from farmers, and we use that for some research, for marketing, and both some domestic and international marketing. We use it for data analysis, for knowledge exchange on farm, and also something called AgriLeader, which is the program that I lead on, helping some farmers to better lead themselves, better lead their people, and better lead their business. And Talking Leaders is one of those programs. So we, as you mentioned, we are on our 51st episode. And we've got all sorts of, in the back catalogue is available with all sorts of categories there. From why when farmers meditate, and to Olympic skier, to somebody that put people on the moon. So a great back catalogue of interesting people we've talked to. And today we've got Sharon.
Well done. And Sharon, we always have a quite an interactive audience. And already I've got a comment in from WhatsApp. Is Isaac cooking brunch for us? If so, what's on the menu? On the basis that Isaac is sat in his kitchen. And Sharon, as Isaac intimated, what's great about the Talking Leaders and what Isaac and his esteemed colleague Mark Campbell do is that they find really interesting people that Isaac sort of push us out of our comfort zone, just to challenge us. Because Sharon, as you know, more than anyone, farming can be quite a lonely occupation, and if you're not careful, I could see people just going down this sort of whirlpool of self-thought, self-doubt, and this is why I think this sort of conversation can be quite inspirational on the basis of getting people like you, because we can learn from you. So Sharon, just if it's okay, can we just go back again? What's your background? What's your credibility in farming? What do you know about farming, Sharon? Go.
Oh, don't ask me any technical questions. So I married a fourth generation farmer 18 years ago now. So I grew up in a rural community, but I wasn't necessarily farming myself. And marrying into the farm kind of meant that my learning curve was a little bit steep. I had to learn a lot quite quick. I am not involved in the farm on a daily basis because of the job I do, and so I can't drive a tractor. I've never lambed a lamb, but I have lived and breathed and kind of experienced firsthand the impact that being part of a farming family has on life. You know, every decision I make about anything has the farm at the centre of it. So yes, I've bared witness to quite a lot of it. And I work with farmers and farm workers and family members on a sort of daily basis too. So,
well done. If it's okay to ask, just put you on the spot. Do you love farming?
I do. I'm really passionate about it. I think it's full of great values. I think it's full of amazing people, and yeah. I mean, why you couldn't not love it, really? Yeah, no, I'm really passionate. So I might not have been born into it, but I'm definitely an immigrant.
Well, the reason for mentioning that is that sometimes I think we need to pinch ourselves as to we're so lucky in the sector that we are. I'd love to visit your site. I bet it's amazing. Multi-therapist counselling hub on a farm rather than some monosyllabic office block in the middle of some massive binary city. I quite often when I see my farming friends and they're having a bit of a down day, and we just stop and look at the view, and it's like, well, would you really want to be on a commute into London when you've got this? And we sort of come to a semblance of agreement. Isaac, would you agree with us?
100%, and definitely, and I think, but it is, so when things get a bit overwhelming, and even those nice views can be, well, just to say, everybody that's listening in, also, and if you've dialed in, send us your messages, ask questions of Sharon. We'll try and get those asked to her. Sharon's and Max talked a bit about and how Blue Monday came about, and it's a bit of a sales gimmick. Do you think actually there is a bit of truth to it, or is it at least important to highlight the fact that people, so it's a bit like whatever days and that we have in the year, just a point to highlight the fact that, and let's think about something like mental health or that, and that, does it actually resonate with farmers, or do you think it is just a gimmick?
It used to make me roll my eyes because I couldn't stand the fact that it was clearly a marketing strategy and it was designed to profiteer from people's distress. I think the time of year is difficult for human beings generally. We like light and warmth, and this is the darkest, coldest part of the year. Farmers are used to sort of the seasonality of things, and I know my husband won't mind me saying that he finds this time of year probably the hardest, because it's that time on the farm where everything just feels dark and cold and wet, and you're kind of waiting for better days and better weather to get on with the things you want to do. I think it's been reclaimed. I think it's moved from a profiteering sort of strategy to something that can just elevate conversations and start conversations like we're having today, and we can use it as a platform to springboard lots of other stuff off now. So I think we've taken it back.
Cool, excellent. Saying that, and the whole area around mental health and that, it still feels a bit scary for people, or do you feel we are getting on top of it and addressing it in a more open way?
Oh, I think there's a bit of an eye roll still when people say the words mental health, particularly in farming. They're like, oh yeah, here we go. But I wish I could find another word for it, because I'm a little bit sick of the phrase mental health in some way. You know, I talk about it all day, every day, and I feel it's lost some of its meaning. But I think it's really important that people understand that mental health isn't just about being really down or really up. It's kind of like it's a broad spectrum, and we're always somewhere in between, and we tend to move up and down that kind of on a daily basis or a monthly basis, or you know, and that's okay. And actually, it's just in the same way we talk about our physical health and well-being, we can just look at ways that we can make ourselves stronger and fitter for when we face challenges. And I think that's probably a better way to look at it. People are scared because they only hear about or see about when it's really bad from other people, and it might be someone they know who's seemed fine and then really isn't, and that's quite a scary kind of transition to witness, because it's kind of still very much in the dark. I think the more we talk about it, the more people realize that actually there's something really beneficial to having these conversations, and that actually striving for better mental health is as valid as striving for better physical health.
Team, can I just jump in with one? Neil from Somerset. I don't know if this is an appropriate time to put in the question. Can you ask Sharon, people who have a plan, have they got stronger mental health than those that don't? So I think where they're going is if you, just as we were talking in the green room, Isaac, about in South Africa farming, there's a phrase that if you have a problem, make a plan. Isaac, what's the South African for that? That was lovely. What's the South African for?
A boer maak 'n plan, and a farmer makes a plan.
So Sharon, if people have got a plan and they know where they're going, and they have the speed bumps, but they know where the plan is, compared to those that are just living day by day and everything's grinding them down. Sorry, it's a bit of a big question, but
it is a bit of a left field question. But like, I think a plan is really important to give you direction and motivation. So it's all about the next step, and if you know where you're heading, that next step is easier to take. But I think, conversely, if you've got too rigid a plan, that can undo you as much as not having one. So it's having a flexible enough plan so that you're like, well, this is kind of where I want to go, but I don't have to dictate exactly how I get there. I might be able to go this way or that way, or actually, if I set off down that route and it doesn't work, I can turn it slightly into something else, because I think we can get a little bit kind of blinkered sometimes, and that can be our undoing as much as a lack of direction. So I think a plan is a good idea, but build some flexibility into it.
I'm smiling because there's a couple that I used to know in the FMCG food manufacturing industry, and they would every year do this binary New Year's resolution, and they would stick out the life goals for every week, every month, and for the year, and for the next 3 years on their fridge. So every morning they would be looking at their life goals as to what they got divorced after 6 months, because so it goes back to what. Thank you, Sharon. So don't be rigid, because everything does this and things change. Sorry, Isaac, back to you.
No, that's fine. And you're talking a bit about the flex through the months or through the day even, and so how can we help ourselves? And I've heard somebody describe it as a line, and you're above the line or below the line, and hopefully most of us are most of the time above the line, and it's maybe a bit easier, when you are in that position to to make the decisions. But how, when we can feel we're approaching that line and we're going to go below the line, how, any tips or ideas that you might give us that can help us move away from that?
I guess it depends why you've dipped below the line as to what will help you, I guess. But I tend to think of it more, that feels quite binary to me. I tend to think of it more as kind of I guess if you give it a number, so like 0 to 100, and 0 is the worst you could possibly feel, and 100 is absolutely tip-top peak condition. You don't have to get up to 100. You just have to increase your number a little bit to make yourself feel better. So if you're at a 37 today, all you have to do is kind of nudge yourself up to a 39 to start with, and that will help you. And I think if we set ourselves the challenge of, well, I need to be absolutely fine 100% of the time, then we're setting ourselves up to fail. So it's just look at the things that you can do to nudge yourself back up the numbers a little bit. And I think the first thing is to notice when you're sliding the other way, because often we kind of push that to one side and we don't pay attention to those signals that we're dipping. And so noticing is the first thing. And then the second thing, I guess, is putting in just small things that will make you feel better, which sounds really easy to say, but it's looking at the things that you enjoy, or looking at the things you have, or looking at, I don't know, spending 5 minutes having a cup of tea in the bit of the farm that you enjoy the most, or it's just looking at those little things that you can put in that might not change the big thing that's caused you to feel below the line, if you like, but it's looking at the little things that can just nudge you up step by step up that ladder again, so that it's not on or off. It's just, okay, let's just move us up that way a little bit.
Well done. Isaac, have you, Miriam's just put a great comment in on the Q&A. Isaac, do you want to just read out what Miriam said? Because it's all about support, and there's so much support there, but sometimes we need to be directed. Go, Isaac.
So Miriam said about some highlighting support for farmers page that has a range of signposts and charities on there, from business and finance to mental health. So we'll put that in the comments and the stuff below.
Thanks,
and all the things we post. But so just talk about, and as it's come up, and Sharon, what are some of those places where we can find some of those support?
Well, farming specific wise, you've got RABI, you've got FCN, and FCN have some really good resources on the Farm Well section of their website as well. It's not just about sort of reaching out at crisis point. They've got some kind of things to help you kind of build your wellbeing strategies, if you like, on there. Farm Strong in Scotland's got some good resources too, and RSABI will help out. If you're in Wales, DPJ are really good if you're struggling. Yarna, if you're in Norfolk. We Are Farming Minds and sort of the Herefordshire area. There's lots of resources out there specifically for sort of agricultural communities, but there's also sort of great nationwide resources for anyone. So Samaritans are always there, obviously. Mind have some great resources, and there's different charities and organisations for specific issues, whether that's sort of addiction, debt, that sort of stuff. There's some really good ones out there. Excellent,
thank you. And Max, we'll put those, we'll get those lists, so then the links and all of that, and for people on the comments, or the people that understand how you do these things, we'll put the links underneath. Sharon, do you think in farming, and we have still got a bit of a mentality of you got to crack on and cope? So do you think that is a farming thing? So having been married to a farmer for 18 years.
Yeah, it'll be fine. We can fix it, all that sort of stuff. And the thing is, our greatest strengths often turn out to be our sort of vulnerable spots as well, and potentially our weaknesses. And I think farming's greatest strength is its independence and its resilience and its capability to sort of get on and do, and to work hard and to push on through and face adversity. But that can also be our greatest weakness, in the thing that when we get stuck in that's the only way to solve a problem. And quite often it will short term provide a temporary solution. But if you keep heading down the sort of just knuckle down, work harder, for example, sort of mentality, you end up burning out and overwhelmed. And then you've got nothing left in the tank. And if you kind of go down the kind of independent stoicism route, I can do it all myself, I can sort this, then you end up isolated. And so it can actually exacerbate the problem a little bit. So it's a great strategy up to a point. But when we're struggling, it's very often not that we're weak, it's that we've been too strong for too long. And that's kind of a farming's thing, the stuff we're facing on a daily basis, and then the other things that kind of get thrown in on top just mean that we're having to be really strong, and we are good at being really strong, but sometimes it's not enough, and we need a little bit of extra support, and there's no shame in that, really.
And Sharon, just talking about extra support, Neil from Somerset again, we have a farmer in our network who we're all very worried about, and he won't reach out. How can we positively assist him, influence him to get help for his mental health? Thoughts, please?
Yeah, that's always tricky. And you can't force anyone to do anything they don't want to do. But I would say you are able to speak to a lot of the charities and say, I'm worried about this person, and a lot of them will have volunteers that they can sort of access to sort of help the person who is supporting that particular farmer, for example. But I think a lot of it is presence. We mistakenly think we have to do something to help someone, but actually just being with someone can be enough to help them sort of get to the point where they can then reach out for support. So it might just be popping around, leaning on a fence with him, having a cup of tea with him, just kind of being with him can be enough to help someone get a strong enough footing to then be able to ask for support. But it's really tough when you see someone struggling and someone you care about struggling. It's very hard.
My view, if I'd had that situation, I would go and see that individual, invite them to something, whether it be the flicks or something farmer related, and try and segue that in. I suppose that what my contact's worried about is that you can't message or phone and say, "Are you okay?" Because that presumably that individual's just going to put the screens up. They'll need to be, mentor's the wrong word. Help me to they need comforting to know that there's assistance there.
Yeah, but it can just be a case of, if you often when we're struggling, other things around us tell the signs. So if it's a neighbouring farmer, for example, who'll be like, "Oh, I've noticed your fence is, there's a hole in it between you and me. Can I help you fix it? Or can we do something together?" And it's just you find the other ways into just being next to that person, with that person. And sometimes it's not that they don't want help, but they don't know how to access it because it's something they've never done before. So it might be sitting, if at some point they do let on that actually I'm finding things really difficult right now, it's sitting with them and go, "Well, should we look at this resource together? Or would you like me to sit with you while you phone it? Or would you like me to phone them whilst you're with me?" And just kind of being alongside is way more powerful than people give the credit for.
Some people say, so rather say, "How are you?" People are just going to say, "No, I'm fine." It's to say, "How are you out of 10?" or "How are you as a percentage?" So, do you think that works? Because it's harder to just say, "I'm fine, I'm fine."
Yeah, it is easier, I think, to dodge the question, to dodge the kind of typical response of, "No, it's all good, I'm fine," or just brushing it off. It's like, "Give me a number," just kind of bring it out there. But I think there's so many different ways to ask the question rather than "Are you okay?" And don't just always take the first answer. And don't underestimate, the amount of times when you ask that question to someone and they brush you off with "I'm fine" or whatever. It's easy to feel like you're not doing anything in that moment, but actually what you're doing is leaving the door ajar, because they know that you've actually stopped and said, "Are you really okay? Because, I've noticed you haven't been to, I don't know, whatever recently, or I haven't seen you around," or and you're just leaving that door open so that they know if they're ever not, they can come and say that to you, because you've already shown that demonstration of, actually, I've invested enough to ask you whether you're actually okay.
Okay, guys, can I cross the line? This is so about 25 years ago, I was leaning against the rear wheel of a massive Ferguson down in Kent with a mate I was at college with, and he was in tears. There's the typical father son farming scenario, and he said to me, "Max, the only way I know what's going to happen is when my father's carried out in a box. At the moment, there's no communication. I don't know what to do," and we sort of had that I don't know, emotional time together. I didn't know what to do. But 2 months later, it was actually solved pretty quickly, because just randomly, the NFU group secretary came out to do insurance review, and this contact of mine had the same heart to heart. And the NFU agent said, "No, I've got this. I'll get this sorted. I need to see your father about his pension." You both know the stat that a third of farmers don't have wills. And the NFU agent started to talk to the father about progression and the father didn't realize that there was an issue. Within 6 months, a trust had been set up and it was all orchestrated. And when I next saw my friend, he was a lot happier as to where they went, and that all came about from that my contact being open and communicative with people that he trusts, professionals who managed to then come up with a plan. So Sharon, Isaac, it comes back to what you were saying earlier about all the fantastic charities or other professionals that you can trust to take that big step and sorry, sounds childish, but be brave with them, because quite often they have a solution and they're not emotionally involved, but they know what the solution is, and they know the family politics very well, and will be able to create that solution. Sharon, do you think that was the right thing to do?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm kind of a big advocate for the fact that mental health shouldn't be a separate conversation in agriculture. It's impacted by and feeds into everything, whether, like you say, that's succession planning or pensions or financial decisions or business decisions or, you know, family decisions. It's there within all of it. It's not a separate thing that we need to address. It's part of every conversation we need to have about the impact it has on our, you know, well-being and stuff. So yeah, absolutely.
And I suppose, team, if there was one positive about the recent inheritance tax debate, it got a lot of farming businesses to actually talk internally and with professional advisors as to how they structure the business going forward. Sharon, I feel like I've slightly manipulated the conversation about make a plan, make a plan, so that everyone knows where they're going. Isaac, back to you.
Then we've had a great question coming here from Rachel. Saying, I always feel guilty, and I always struggle with Sundays. I feel guilty for not working, being active on a Sunday, but also feel guilty for working on a Sunday then. So it's kind of both ways, in whether she's feeling guilty for sitting still on a Sunday, but then also when she does work. Any tips on that and how to get across the guilt?
Yeah, I do. And I think it's important to look after yourself. You know, you're the one running the farm, and if you're at rock bottom, either sort of physically or emotionally, you're going to make poor decisions. You're going to struggle. Mistakes are going to be made. You run the risk of cutting corners, having accidents, all that sort of stuff. So there is an element of you need to invest in yourself and make sure that you're in a good place in order for the farm to thrive too. And if rest is part of you recovering, then that's important. But I think guilt is always the enemy of self-care, because we judge ourselves so harshly. But I think when we're doing that, we're undervaluing our role in what we do. And it's important. You look at sort of sports psychology, for example, they build in rest days deliberately because they know that if you overtrain, it causes injury and your performance suffers. And we're the same. You know, we've got this kind of work martyrdom in farming, whereas, you know, haven't had a day off in 4 years is a badge of honor, which is ridiculous because it's not looking after us, and we're the farm's most valuable asset, right? So I totally get why it feels like if you're sitting down, for example, you're doing nothing, then you're being lazy. But actually, we've got used to measuring our value on productivity or hours worked, whereas actually our value is not that. Our value is on us as farmers, as human beings, as family members, and actually being is more important than doing. The farm requires us to do a lot, but actually sometimes it requires us to do something differently in order to sort of better arm ourselves for what we face during the week.
That's very much what we, the whole agri-leader sort of mantra of leading self, leading people, leading business. That leading self, you've got to be your best self to be able to lead your people and lead your business. And if you're overtired or got too much on, you can't be leading yourself in the best way. So the whole,
I think also we're as women, we're conditioned to feel like we're only useful if we're doing something for someone else, and that's really detrimental sometimes too, because we have a phrase in therapy that you can't pour from an empty cup. You need to recharge yourself, and you need to do whatever it is in order to be able to do those roles, whether it's working on the farm or whether it's supporting other people or whatever. But you kind of have to get over that shift of I shouldn't be doing this. It's like, actually, according to who? If you want to do it, do it. If you don't want to do it, don't do it.
Tim, can I just jump in? Sorry, Isaac. Can I just jump in? Mate of mine called Colin, who's an apple farmer, says, "Tell Sharon and Isaac about my holidays." So I've got this chap who he he challenges himself to do something big every year. So he's canoed round one of the islands off the Never Eat Straight Away, the Western Isles, and every month with his wife they try and do something out of the farm. So they've always got something to look forward to. They've got the big challenge, that tends to be in the summer, and then every month so they find that as a distraction. So when they have the Blue Monday moment, they can sit down and look at it and look online as to what they're going to do. Sharon, I presume you'd agree with that. Is that a good thing to have something that's a complete distraction from the farm, and to do something so you've got something to always look forward to?
I think having something to look forward to is really important, and it doesn't have to be a big thing. You know, if finances are tight, it doesn't have to be a holiday. You know, it could just be something that just makes you happy, and as long as it's in the diary and you can look forward to it, it helps you get through the days that are darker and longer and colder. I think, yeah, that's a really important thing to do. But I'm kind of a big advocate of, well, I'm trying it this year. This is my New Year's resolution, is rest in preparation rather than recovery. I'm guilty of kind of going, oh, well, after this week, I'll slow down a bit, or when this project's finished, I'll have a rest. But actually, then you deplete and then you burn out. And I think it's like, you can put those rests in first. It's like, I know I've got this big thing coming up, or I've got this, you know, it's going to be really busy for the next 3 months, rather than trying to push through and recover afterwards. Actually, is there something I can do to charge me up first, so that I've got the kind of resources to get through that point?
We've talked quite a bit about families and you know, so that, but how, you know, let's talk a bit about and how mental health and the strains and affect families. How do we recognize it as families? How do we support, you know, if something like this happens in our family? Because there's also this idea of, you know, it won't happen to me, it won't happen in my families. And, you know, so do you think that's true as well?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, my Nuffield scholarship that I'm currently doing at the moment is called No Farmer is an Island for a reason. You know, we're not on our own. There's people around us, whether that's immediate family or sort of distant family, or farm workers, you know, sort of the family on farm that you've created with the people you work with, or sort of industry. We're not on our own. Sometimes it can feel like it, but there are always people around us. And I think we worry about the burden we are to those people when we struggle, but actually they're probably the ones in the best position to help us if we let them know that we're struggling. It does have an impact on the whole family, because farming is generally quite family focused, and so we're all impacted by the same things. And it is hard to watch someone you care about struggle. As we were talking about earlier, it's hard to know how to help them. But actually it's strength in numbers. And the one thing that the farming community can do really well, given the opportunity, is support itself. You know, but we also value honesty and integrity. And if someone says I'm fine every time and they're not, we don't have that opportunity. So it's kind of a bit of a challenge to be honest and go, yeah, no, actually things are tough at the moment, or I'm not having a good week, or things are piling up. Because actually then we can rally around and support each other. So it does impact all of us, but that's not necessarily a bad thing, because that's what can bring us together and unify us.
Okay. Well, thank you, Sharon. Can I ask a business-related question?
You try.
It's another Colin. Where's Colin from? Shropshire. I have 6 full-time guys. I think there's a lady in there as well, and a number of Harvard students. We have a 7:30 meeting every morning to talk about the plan and discuss health and safety. I'm really keen to bring in a segment every morning about mental health. Is that a good thing to do? How would you introduce it?
But it's the simplest idea, that what Isaac was talking about earlier, just like give me a score for today. Where are you today?
Wow.
And it doesn't mean that anyone has to go into detail. They don't have to then share, you know, whatever's going on for them, if they've got problems at home or you know, whatever, or health issues or whatever. They don't have to share that. They can just say, actually, today I'm only a 2. And that means that, you know, the person in charge can kind of keep an eye out, take them to one side later on, check in if there's anything specific they need to help them slide back up that scale again. But it can just be as simple as, where are you at today? And that lets the team know, you know, actually I'm an 8 today, so actually I can support you who's a 2, because I'm feeling good today. And actually, what do you need? I've got the resources to do that.
The whole thing that you said about, you know, family life and external life does affect us. You know, and chatting to a friend over the weekend about that, and that's, and some businesses are much more starting to see people as this holistic beings rather than just the person you're at work or the person you're at home. And it just, in that case, if somebody's a 2 or 3, you can just let off a bit and give them a bit of grace that day rather than being on their case, and vice versa. If they at 8 or 9, you can push them a bit harder. So so I really like that.
I think that sort of check-in process is important, and you can do that within families. You can do it around the dinner table if you need to. You can say, where are you at today? With the kids, it's a good thing to get them talking and just kind of checking in with themselves and learning that kind of process too.
Sharon, you've never experienced my cooking.
There you go.
I've got a contact. My phone's going mad here. Mention my story. I won't mention this individual, but so we've gone from farm. This is a family business. Just let me paint you the picture. But they employ about 400 people, and they're very strong in the mental health. It's a big veg business up north. And this particular individual I filmed with during the summer on a tour I was doing, and on camera, fantastic business. We look after everyone. Off camera, he said, Max, I find it so draining as a senior member of the exec team, because it's always the same people that have mental health issues, and the backstory and their personal life is so chaotic, and they take so much of my energy whilst I try to assist them, whilst the good people who actually could do with support to get them to the next level, I feel that I'm overlooking them because I'm spending so much time with the people with the chaotic personal social life. I don't know what to do. What would your advice be of that? That's an individual, that senior individual, and everyone, and they're trying to run the open door philosophy for all the right reasons, but they're getting overwhelmed and dragged down. How would you counter that one?
That's a tricky one, because you're not going to leave those with the sort of more chaotic home life, because that's not going to help either. So you have to manage your resources and support everyone. I think if you put good strategies in place that enable sort of an increase in well-being for everyone, it will bring the people up who he is spending his energy on, as well as not spending his energy on. Do you see what I mean? It's kind of like
totally. If anything, I think this individual is he's created his own moat, and I suspect that he needs support. To me, there should be a senior people person who would be looking to assist us, and if they need to, they can get external help in. But they've also got to look after the good. It's almost like he's trying to cause everything. He wants to be the solution to everything, but he can't be. But he can't let go.
No, and the danger is, he does that because he cares. I presume, he cares about his workforce. But you can get, again, sort of burnt out on trying to sort of contain everyone, and actually it's who can you look at to help you with that. And it might be another member of staff that you can put in sort of charge of sort of well-being of that team, for example. It's looking where else you can get support from in order to support those people, because otherwise you just spiral a little bit.
And another great example, I remember years ago I went to a presentation from the CFO, Chief Financial Officer of British Telecom, and he said that if you were running a business and that's got over 500 people, it's the culture, it's very difficult, let alone if it's multi-site, let alone if it's on a locational basis. So you've got to let go to grow. And this applies to, like that example I gave of the chat with whatever it was, 6 or 10 full-time workers. I suspect that at some point there'll be if there's an issue with someone and he can't handle it, to actually get some professional help, it might cost a little, but the benefit that's going to give that individual. We all know the stories within farming of a farmer that went that extra mile when someone within the team had a bereavement, or they had an ill child, and they said, no, just take the week off, don't count it as holiday, go look after yourself, and that person thought so much of that individual on the farm, and they then waxed lyrical about how great it is to work on that farm. So where am I going with that one, Sharon? It's sort of if you can't handle it, find a professional who can. And
absolutely,
it's
what we talked about earlier.
Sharon.
It's kind of that thing you talked about earlier about kind of feeling like you have to do it yourself. That chap cares about his staff and he wants to support them, but you can't do everything yourself all the time. And actually, we have a phrase of accidental counsellors, those people who are really invested, whether that's the vet who's sort of talking to farmers when they're out on farm and stuff like that, but they end up taking on a role because they care, but it takes something from them as well, because that's that's not necessarily their role. So it's knowing where to turn to get support with that, so that you're not holding everything, that, you know, it doesn't have to be yours.
I guess within a family dynamics, you know, on family farms, there'll be some people who are more you know, have got more empathy or can fill that role better. And I guess, is that something you think you'd find?
Yeah, definitely. But I also think, you know, it's not burdening the already burdened. You know, those people who tend to be good at that stuff are already supporting quite a lot of people, and it's making sure that they're supported too. And it's not a linear thing, so that there's a person at the top doing all the supporting and everyone down below. It's kind of a circular thing, so that you know, everyone has someone else that they can turn to for support.
Yeah, I just reminiscing. I was at Llama last week, and I interviewed the Farmers Weekly Farm Manager of the Year, Ryan McCormack, who farms near us in Suffolk, and he was talking off camera about this fantastic team that they've created, and it's very diverse. They've even got ladies on the farm. He said jokingly to me, and they operate a system of all looking after each other, and there's half a dozen of them, and two, three, four harvest workers, and they've all now got a collective goal, because we're going off on a segue. They've got 4,000 acres they're taking to regenerative farming, and everyone's on this journey, and everyone's within a farm, and everyone's very excited about it. And so he stated that their mental health, he believes, is very, very good, very strong, because they've got a diversified workforce, and they've got a direction. So it's just coming back to where at the beginning we were saying, oh no, mental health again. Actually, if you look at it from a business perspective, well, there's that I don't know if you've ever seen it. Cranfield University come out with this great graph that those companies across the whole of the UK who invest in training and development see better profitability, a higher turnover, and better staff retention. So if you look after your people in this human, authentic, genuine manner, especially with the professional help of the likes of Sharon, Sharon, Isaac, you're going to have a better business. Isaac, would you agree with me?
100%, yes, and that's definitely something that I've found on my Nuffield years. And people said, remember how you made them feel, and if you made them feel good, it's good for your business. It's definitely a proven thing. Sharon, I've got a left field one for you. What is the biggest myth around mental health that you would like to bust today?
I think if I could change anything, it would be that it's somehow the person who's struggling's fault.
Yeah, you know, well done.
Because I think it's not. It, like, poor mental health can hit any one of us. So, you know, we talk a lot about the challenges of farming and that the impact that has on mental health, which are significant. But at the end of the day, we're human beings, and we're faced with all the other challenges that being a human being has as well. And if you get to the point where it is just too much and you can't think or do your way out of it by yourself, it's not your fault. It's not anything that you've done wrong, and it's not necessarily any failing of you as a character. It's just something that happens, and therefore you can get the help you need to get yourself out of it, because it's not something you've done wrong. It's not something you've necessarily failed at. It's just unfortunate.
Let's talk a bit about some of the roles of, you know, like healthy eating, exercise, sleep, and all of that. That really affects how we feel and how we can operate. And, you know, so talk us a bit through about and how important those aspects are.
And again, this is back to the thing of, like, mental health shouldn't be a separate conversation. It's linked to everything. It's linked to physical health. Mental health impacts physical health, and physical health impacts mental health. So, you know, you need to care for a person as a whole, like you're saying, that holistic approach to diet, nutrition, sleep. All those things have an impact and suffer if you're feeling it. You can kind of get in this vicious circle of, you know, when you're feeling rubbish, you eat rubbish, and then you feel more rubbish, so you eat more rubbish, and it's you can kind of spiral, but you can turn the spiral back round again. And, you know, when you eat better, you feel better, and back you go up the other way. But yeah, it's all linked, and it's all, when you say it's sort of looking after your people, it's investing in every element of that.
There's can I just mention WhatsApp? There's a chap I was talking to the other day, and I don't know if you two do it on a voyeuristic basis. When I get a WhatsApp from someone, I've only just started to. I always look at the profile picture, and this chap who's a farmer, he had Ironman gear on, And I thought, bloody hell, that's impressive. And when I spoke to him, I said, really, you frighten me. Why do I frighten you, Max? I just saw your profile picture. You're so fit. I'm not fit. No, tell us, show off. What have you done? Oh, I did the Brighton Ironman, and the one before that I did the and he said it's really good for my mental health. I only started 2-3 years ago. I've met my tribe, Max. They're a great bunch of people. I don't really know what they do. They don't really know what I do. But we meet up all around the country. Goes back to my thing about having little plans. We meet up. It's normally every other month or every quarter. And I have a fantastic time and a great tribe. And thank you for looking at my profile picture. That means the world to me. I then said, "Are you going to do Marathon de la Sable?" And I don't know if either of you know it. It's in Morocco, and it's something daft. It's like someone will know online. It's something like 10 marathons in 8 days. And I said, "Surely you're going to do that?" And he goes, "No, it's too hot for me." And this guy that's doing multiple Ironman, but again, he's found that distraction, something to break him out.
We do farm Pilates on a Friday morning. So 10:30 on a Friday morning, all our farm staff do Pilates. Primarily because we had, an increase in the number of sort of back pains and general aches and that sort of stuff. And actually getting together once a week, there was some hesitation to start with, about Pilates. It's not strength in your typical farmer way, right? So it's really challenging. And luckily the instructor is brilliant and she knows exactly how to talk to these guys. But and actually it's a chance not just to improve your physical health, which makes you feel better, and you lose less time and days off to sort of injury and sickness and stuff, but also it's a check-in. Like, they're getting together because normally they're off in different bits of the farm and doing different projects and stuff. It brings them together to sort of catch up with each other, and that's not a bad thing either. It kind of builds that camaraderie.
Sharon, 2 fruit farmers in Somerset want to know, is your Pilates online on a Friday?
No.
You're to charge this time next year, Rodney.
Sharon, you mentioned no farmer as an island and your Nuffield topic. Tell us a bit about, and where have you been, and what are some of the highlights and some of the insights that you've had from around the world?
Okay, so far I've been to New Zealand, Australia, the States, Canada, Scandinavia as a group of countries, and I'm off to Zimbabwe in a couple of weeks. So far, I think it's kind of reassuring and a bit disappointing, but with exceptions for nuance according to sort of country and industry sector, the challenges that face farmers in terms of mental well-being are the same pretty much worldwide. It tends to come down to the stuff that feels like it's out of our control. So, weather events and government policy and finance and trade tariffs, etc. All that sort of market-based stuff. So we are in it together. It's not weird that we find it difficult. It is universal. There's some great initiatives out there which are really interesting and tackle the problem from a variety of different angles, which I'm really excited about learning about. It's been really nice just to sort of spend time with other farmers and across the globe. It's been great.
The happiest country.
Sorry, Max. What's it about Zimbabwe? What do you hope to find in Zimbabwe?
Well, I kind of think, they're such a generally positive group of people. And when you consider the challenges that they face sort of economically, politically, and especially in the last 20, 25 years, I think there's got to be something we can take from that. There's got to be something we can learn from them. And I'm really excited to sort of get chatting to them and just learn more about how they survive, how they face what they face, and how they keep going and all that sort of stuff.
Africa's so interesting, Isaac, isn't it? That's on my travels through Africa, you meet some of the poorest people, but as long as they've got fresh water, fresh food, family, they're the happiest people. And there's us all wandering around with the bumper sticker on the back of our cars. He who dies with the most toys wins. Our commercialization here, which probably doesn't make us the happiest. So Isaac, perhaps we should all move to Zimbabwe. Let's see what Sharon thinks after her studies.
I'll let you know. I'll keep you posted.
I'm not sure, but I think you're meeting a good friend of mine, a guy that's started Unstoppable Worlds, and there's leadership stuff, and that was born from a real hardship that he's had, and so yes, and very much next tour is in April of this year in Zimbabwe. So yeah, have a chat to me if you're interested in Unstoppable World, and give him my regards. There's some things, and maybe I hope I'm allowed to answer this, but you're busy with a research paper. Can you give us a little sneak preview or an insight of what that might be and where we might find it? And it's not published yet, but
it's not published yet. No, as part of my master's, I wrote a research paper regarding the mental health of farm wives, which was a slightly controversial topic because I know many farm women are kind of rejecting the stereotype of farm wife. A lot of them quite rightly are farmers in their own right, and that is absolutely what it should be. But I do feel that those women who are, like myself, sort of involved with the farm but not necessarily considered farmers are as impacted by agriculture, and it has a sort of an impact on their mental health too. So I wrote a paper on that, and it was really eye-opening in the sense that number one, I want to reclaim the role, like let's redefine it from your apple-cheeked baker into what farm wives in the 21st century actually do. They're superwomen and they should be celebrated as such. And I think anything I can do to help that cause, I will. So yeah, watch this space. Hopefully it'll be published soon.
Excellent. Any last questions from you, Max? So we start wrapping it up.
You can see where this is going, and Sharon, absolutely no offense to you. We've had a number of conversations about this on the 51 broadcast that we've had. I just wonder how this conversation is going to develop in 2, 3, 5 years, 10 years time down the line. Do you think we're going to reach utopia at some point, Sharon, with this, that we will just realize this, that as part of a job specification, whether it be for a farm manager or head dairyman or what, it would just be the norm that we will have this? Because it seems that we're getting there, but we're still got our feet stuck in the mud. Do you think this will be normalized? Sharon, do you think you won't have a job in 5-10 years down the line?
That'd be great. No, I think what I would really hope for the industry, I've got 3 kids, as I mentioned earlier. Like, I want them, if they want to go into agriculture as they grow, I want them to be in an industry that's supportive and safe for them. I don't want them to be in an industry that is taking its toll on their mental well-being. Why would I want that for my children?
Yeah.
I want them to be happy, and I want them to flourish, and I want an industry that supports that. I would like to think that the tanker is turning, albeit slowly, on the conversations around mental health. But I just want it to be normalized that it's okay to look after yourself, and it's okay to see yourself as an asset, and it's okay to recognize and be able to ask for what you need if you need it, without fear of ridicule or derision or that it somehow impacts. We are human beings doing this job, and human beings have better days than other days, and we shouldn't be made to feel less than if we need help. And I would really just like to turn that around. I think it's getting there. It's not there yet, but you look at sort of, again, I'll go back to the sport analogy because that's my history, but you look at rugby, and now it's psychology is part of the game, and more and more players are coming up with the struggles they've had, and it's challenging that masculine stereotype of you mustn't feel anything, a big hard rugby player. And actually they've turned it around, and I think farming can do the same. It's okay to value yourself and recognize what you need and ask for that, I think. Go on.
Do you think the younger generation is getting better at that?
I think the younger generation is growing up with it as part of their vocabulary in a way that sort of the older generations don't have, and that can only be a good thing, and that can only change the industry as it goes through. I just think we need to challenge those with the sort of slightly more what's the word I'm looking for? Slightly, the kind of those who still subscribe to the old stereotypes of we mustn't talk about that stuff. I think it's okay to challenge gently on that, and hope is a active process. It's a verb. You've got to do hope, and actually I hope for a better industry, and I'm working towards that because I think we can change it.
Yeah, well done. I think it's coming towards us. We're seeing the younger generation coming in and being more advanced in the way of the ag tech developments that we're seeing. I was at Llama last week, covering for video photography. One of the busiest stands I saw on the crop tech stand was the FCN stand. It was full of people engaging with them. And so that younger generation coming in, and with the likes of all the charities that we've mentioned, and the great work that the likes of the AHDB are doing, it's sort of, Sharon, it's sort of more normalised now, isn't it? So there isn't that stigma than 20 years ago that he's got a problem, leave him alone, and something dreadful happens. That we've now got that support coming in. But Sharon, we've got to say, we don't want to make you unemployable. Because again, it goes back to what we were saying. If you've got an accountancy issue, you go to accountant. If you've got a legal issue, you go to. If you've got a problem with your combine, you go to class. If you've got a complex problem with your family or one of your team or yourself, go to a Sharon. Isaac, would you agree?
100%. So I definitely think, and it's something, accessing professional support is very important. So yeah, give us the list of charities again, Sharon, and how people can get in touch with yourself.
Yeah, just before I do that, I will just say, we're not scary, I promise. Everyone's a little bit scared of mental health professionals because we get a really bad rep in the media in terms of, they're always portrayed in films and TV drama series as, quite scary people. We're not scary. At the end of the day, we're here to help you, and we're here to collaborate with you and empower you to be a better version of yourself, and we want to help you succeed. So yeah, don't be afraid of us. We don't bite. But yeah, there's RABI, RSABR in Scotland. There's FCN, obviously. We Are Farming Minds, YANA, which stands for You Are Not Alone, sort of in Norfolk. DPJ in Wales. There's Samaritans, there's Mind, there's, who have I forgotten, Farm Strong. Yeah, there's plenty out there.
Excellent, thanks. And as AHDB, on our website, there is a webpage called Support for Farmers, and a lot of links and things in there. So do access it through that as well.
So come on, Sharon, wrap up for us. What does success look like for whether it be a family farmer or an individual who's suffering a little bit on Blue Monday? How can we give them a cuddle and push them forward to have a fantastic 2026? Go on, Sharon, what would your advice be to wrap up?
If you're finding it tough, it's because farming's tough, not because you're not. Would be my first thing. And talk to someone. It doesn't matter who. It can be someone involved in farming because they get it, or someone who's not involved in farming because it's a change, or it can be a professional, or it can be, anyone you can find. Just talk to someone, get some connection with another human being, because it will immediately make you feel better, and make space for the stuff that makes you happy in your day, because life's too short not to be.
Boom.
Excellent.
And thank you. And we've got a question from Neil in Somerset. I'm having an issue with my mental health today because I think Isaac's clock on his cooker is not set correctly. And what time does he want us around for lunch? Isaac, could you just read out what the time on your clock on your cooker says? We all need to know. Is it? We can't quite see it.
That's all right, and the electric strip, so it's out of sync. So
there's this excuse, Sharon. We were never into detail. And whose clock on the cookers ever right? Sharon, you've been fantastic. We're going to tag you, so everyone follow Sharon, especially Pilates on a Friday, which is now going online by popular demand from 2 fruit growers in Somerset. Isaac, anything that we can look forward to from yourself and your esteemed colleagues at the AHDB, please?
Yes, we've got a full program of some events going on around the country at the moment. So have a look on our online events page and find something near you. So yes, and join us, get something for your levy, and we'll see you again in a month's time for the next Talking Leaders.
Excellent. And wrap up question from Neil in Somerset, because he wants to pick on you, Sharon. Sharon, what's your favourite colour of tractor that makes you happy?
I'm not being drawn into that argument.
Oh, no.
Whatever I say, I'll be wrong.